This is totally not your typical meatloaf. This is smoked meatloaf. I'm going to cook it on my Pit Boss in the backyard. So good. These are just your basic herb stuffing mix from Pepperidge Farms. Just basic herb stuffing mix. I did about a half a cup, and then I'm going to add to it Lipton onion soup mix. Can you believe that? Flavor bomb. You may be thinking other people use that too. Yeah, but that's not all I'm using. We got the herb stuffing mix. We got the Lipton onion soup mix. And then also, we're going to top that off with a little bit more of stuffing. And then we're going to add one more flavor bomb explosion into this already flavorful 3-cup measuring cup here. And what is that, Jimmy Dick? What could it be? It's barbecue seasoning, of course. We're going to add a full heaping tablespoon of this seasoning mix. Then you give it a wee shake-a-do just to help it sink down in there. Booyah, it's magic. And we're going to top it off with a little more of the stuffing mix. This equals about 1.5 cups of stuffing with everything else in it. After we get that in there, we're going to add some milk. Now, if you have any recollection of making meatballs, you know milk really does keep the meatloaf and the meatballs tender. So we're going to add, I ran out of milk, but luckily for me, I have half and half. So I'm going to put a little half and half in there. And you don't want this swimming. You just want everything in this thing here to absorb the milk, to soften everything up. Plus, that gives it a great vehicle for all those flavors to mix. And once it's softened up, it mixes really good with the meat that we're going to use. So just set that to the side and let her go. So in this big old bowl here, I'm going to add 1 pound of very lean, I think it's like 85-15 ground beef. And then we're also going to add 1 pound of pork. The pork does two things. Not only does it add fat and moisture to the ground beef that's very lean, but it keeps it moist and tender and awesome. So now I chopped up some onion. It ends up being right about a 1/4 cup. I'm going to throw that in on top of the meat as well. Bam! Thrown on the meat. So, next, Worcestershire sauce. The word everyone loves and pronounces differently. So that's a tablespoon. Salt and pepper to taste. I do about a half a teaspoon of each. That's it. Next, we're going to do 2 eggs. 1 egg per pound of beef that you're using, or ground meat, I should say, because we're using beef and pork. So 2 eggs. Then we're going to take our stuffing mixture, which has started to absorb pretty good. And of course, you can see it's stuck to my measuring cup here. Going to get that in there, and then I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go in, and I'm going to start mixing it together. Don't overmix, but you want to make sure it's all well combined. And my one hand ain't cutting it, so if you're going to do it, put both your flesh mitts in there and give that a good stirring around. So you just want to mix through. Like I said, you don't want it to be tough, so don't overmix. Then again, don't undermix either. That's a fine line. What can I say? So, a disposable aluminum foil pan is always best, because when this thing comes out of the smoker, you're never going to want to use it again. So get you a cheap old disposable pan. Throw your meat in there, and then we're just going to shape it into the size and shape of loaf that we want. Some like it fat and wide, some like it tall and skinny. I like a little bit in between. So there it is. Booyah, it already looks good and hasn't even cooked yet. Here's my Pitt Boss Smoker. So I have it set to smoke, which is a very low temperature. It's under 200 degrees. And we're going to put it in here for about right under 3 hours. If I'd have went the full 3 hours, it'd have been fine too. We just do a little bit under. So 3 hours later, I come back out. You can see the time has passed. I've changed clothes, showered. I'm getting ready for dinner. Booyah. So we are going to take it out. I'll give you a quick peek. Now this meatloaf is not cooked all the way through. It is just smoked and added so much good flavor to it. You can see the bark on the outside, but the inside is still not fully cooked. So to do that, we're going to wrap it in foil, stick it in a 350 degree oven for only 20 minutes. Just 20 minutes, and that'll heat it up through. It'll still be slightly undercooked, but that's fine. Here's my sauce. I thought I filmed myself making it, but I didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and put the ingredients to this. You just mix it all together in a bowl, and booyah. It is awesome sauce. It really does go great on a meatloaf. You need to try that too. So, the meatloaf's coming out of the oven. It's been 20 minutes. And here it is. Let's take that foil off and have a peek. Now, if you notice, I'm opening the foil away from me on the other side first, lifting it from that side. That way, if it's really steamy in here, I don't get a facial with that hot stuff and burn my face off. You can also see a little bit of fat that's rendered out that's in there from the pork. We're going to leave that behind as we transfer this to a different baking dish. One that we can be proud of to show and put on the table. Now, I start off all nicey nice putting this on there, and I'm thinking, this is going to take too damn long. It's all going in anyway, so just dump that sauce all over this meatloaf. I'm telling you right now, this sauce is the bomb, diggity bomb. It is so good. So let's stick that back in the oven. Isn't that pretty? So we're going to stick it back in the oven for another 20 minutes. And what that's going to do, it's going to help cook the sauce and finish cooking off the meatloaf. Because you want your sauce to be thickened and baked. It just gives it that umami flavor. Here it is, piping hot. Now, we're empty nesters, so there's no way in hell we're going to eat this whole thing. At least not today. So I cut out the center part of it, and I'm going to give it to the neighbors next door. They loved it, by the way. I'm also going to put some mashed potatoes and corn in there. Talk about giving away a Sunday dinner. It worked out great. They loved it. We didn't waste any food. I got to give them some more of that sauce because that sauce is worth its weight in gold. We didn't waste the food. We can also freeze this, and it's really good. But I'll tell you what, the next day when you have a meatloaf sandwich, boy, howdy, there's nothing like it. So let's plate this up and see what Mrs. Dick and I had for Sunday dinner. Isn't that pretty? Mashed potatoes, corn, and smoked meatloaf. And it tasted so good. Jimmy Dixon